Honored guests, please be seated.
They never do.
Members of the Senate, please be seated.
Will the Senate of the 27th Legislature of the State of Hawaii please come to order? At this time, the chair calls on Mr. Danny Kaleakini for a Hawaiian blessing, followed by the national anthem and Hawaii Pono'i. Will the members and the audience please rise?
E ono ai. Aloha ka kahea ka kako na ahana ke ia. E mai mai, ahalo ka kou. Ohana. Family. Akua. God. Ipuli ka kou. Let us pray. E kuma ko I loko kalani loko Kristo. Na te atu hopo mai kai a moe maha kako. E maana na ohana ki ia. Ai, nana ki ia ka puai olu olu tukaloha ki kai na ohana ki ia. O nani ka makua mau. E keiki me ka ohane ro. E akua mau. O mai ka ipu. O ke laua. O ke lau. Amene. Loko mea no ke apunia me ka mana me kohona ne malo akua. Aloha ke akua, aloha ke akua, aloha ke akua. God is love. Bless all the people in the world, our military families, our homeless families, all the people that love, that need love. Aloha kokua na ohana ke ia. Loko mea no ke apunia me ka mana me kohona ne malo akua. God bless America. Oh, say, can you see what an earthly light? What so proudly we hailed at the twilight's last gleaming, whose rush-like sun-bright stars through the perilous fight, o'er the ramparts we watched, were so gallantly streaming, and the rockets swept round, upward singing, gave proof through the night that our fight was still there. Oh, sing us that star-spangled banner wave, o'er the land of the free and the home of the brave. Whoa, e ao ka aina I ka kono. Hawaii Pono'i, Hawaii Pono'i, Hawaii Alehi, ke Alehi. Akua Hawaii, Hame, 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 na Hawaii Pai, me ka hie. Akua Hawaii, Hame, 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 na Hawaii Pai, me ka hie. Himo!
Thank you, Danny, so much for that opening and blessing. Madam Clerk, please call the roll.
Senator Rosalind Baker. Senator Suzanne Chun Oakland. Senator Donovan Dela Cruz. Senator J. Kalani English. Senator Will Espero. Senator Mike Gabbard.
Here.
Senator Rickwood Galataria. Senator Josh Green. Senator Clayton Heath. Senator David Eaton.
Here.
Senator Les Ihara Jr.
Present.
Senator Gilbert Cadele. Senator Gilbert Keith Agaran. Senator Michelle Kinani. Senator Ronald Kochi. Senator Clarence Nishihara.
Present.
Senator Russell Ruderman.
Present.
Senator Maia Shimabukuro. Senator Sam Snow.
Still saying.
Senator Malala Solomon. Senator Brian Taniguchi.
Here.
Senator Laura Phelan. Senator Jill Tokuda. Senator Glenn Workeye. Madam President.
Here.
All 25 members present.
Are there any introductions this morning? Senator Taniguchi.
Thank you, Madam President. Would you allow me to introduce the visiting assembly members from the Fukuoka Prefecture Assembly?
Yes, please proceed.
Thank you. In 1981, Fukuoka Prefecture became Hawaii's first sister state. Since then, members of the Fukuoka Prefecture Assembly have visited Hawaii's legislative opening day over 25 times. Fukuoka Prefecture, with a population of over 5 million, is on the southern island of Kyushu. Many of the Japanese immigrants to Hawaii came from Fukuoka in the 1880s and 90s, including my grandfather, my mom's dad, Masaji Ichiki, who comes from a town named Kurume, which is south of Fukuoka City. I wish to thank the assembly members from Fukuoka Prefecture for attending the opening day of the Hawaii State Legislature over these many years, and it is now my privilege and honor to introduce them. Would they please rise as I call their names? They are Toshio Matsuo, who is the chairman of the assembly. Shinji Nakamuta, assembly member. Masato Moriya, assembly member.
Aloha.
We've trained them well. Masanari Takahashi. Tokuhiro Kabashima, assembly member. Thank you, Madam President.
Thank you. Because Hawaii is a special place. The year was 1982, and it was my first time running for office, and that was the Democratic Party's campaign slogan, because Hawaii is a special place. I believe this timeless expression captures why many of us chose public service, to ensure that Hawaii continues to be a special place for everyone. Aloha and welcome to the 27th Legislature's opening day. While we are continuing with our recent practice of treating this first day of the biennium session as a regular working day, we are making it a special day by welcoming back to these chambers 36 former senators. It's so wonderful that they've been able to join us to celebrate the 55th anniversary of statehood, and we'll be introducing them later in the agenda. You know, at the conclusion of last year's session, I urged Senate members to use the interim to follow up on issues we were unable to address during the regular session, or to initiate projects that would give us a head start on the pressing issues that we'll be facing this year. And they delivered. Agricultural Committee Chair Clarence Nishihara reported that his committee spent the interim gathering the most current objective information on genetically modified organisms, or GMOs, to enable us legislators to separate fact from misinformation to guide us in our decision making. Commerce and Consumer Protection Committee Chair Roz Baker spent time evaluating the progress of the Affordable Care Act and the Hawaii Health Connector, with an eye toward ensuring it meets the needs of consumers and businesses as mandated. The committee also been reviewing means to ensure that utility customers installing photovoltaic systems don't face unnecessary delays in connecting to the electric grid. Chair Donovan Dela Cruz and his Economic Development, Government Operation and Housing Committee worked on helping shape the rejuvenation of Whitmore Village in central Oahu and collaborating with film industry to bring more production to West Oahu. Chair Mike Gabbard and the Energy Environment Committee are tackling the difficult task of stopping the spread of invasive species, one of the greatest threats to our natural resources, by developing a comprehensive strategy to bolster the state's response to this very huge challenge. Human Services Chair Suzanne Chan Oakland is reaching the needy by partnering with the Homeless Assistance Working Group to develop a mechanism to identify property for temporary and permanent housing for the homeless. Members are also focusing on our growing population of seniors and how the state can best serve them. Our small boat harbors, state parks, conservation lands, and shorelines seem to be in constant need of upkeep. And so Water and Land Committee Chair Malama Solomon has been assessing the facilities and programs of the Department of Land and Natural Resources to identify what the legislature can do to support the agency's mandates. The Ways and Means Committee, as always, has the Herculean task of balancing the state's many and diverse needs with our financial resources. Chair David Ige, along with Vice Chair Michelle Kidani, led visits throughout the state, seeing firsthand the capital improvement needs. There are other issues as well. Last year, with Education Chair Jill Takuda taking the lead, we took a first step toward universal early education. And I expect the debate will continue as we examine the costs of expanding publicly funded preschool education, including how it will impact our current mandate for kindergarten through 12th grade and the feasibility of its long-term sustainability. At the other end of the educational spectrum, Higher Education Chair Brian Taniguchi held hearings with the University of Hawaii on its proposed repair and budget maintenance budget estimated at $480 million, plus new construction projects totaling $200 million. Given the similar needs of our public schools and other state infrastructure, there will be many, many requests competing for a limited amount of capital improvement money. And I'm happy to say that we will be revisiting the proposal to raise the minimum wage. The Senate looks forward to working collaboratively again with our House counterparts. I'm pleased that under the leadership of Majority Leader Brickwood Galataria and Policy Leader Les Ihara, we have a joint House-Senate legislative package this year. And while there'll be plenty of areas where we may disagree, it is important for us to work collaboratively in the best interest of our constituents and all the people of the state. What I've just summarized is not a comprehensive list of everything the Senate has addressed during the past several months, but it does provide ample evidence that we were very engaged during the interim, giving us a jump start on this session. A jump start on building on a foundation created by those who served, deliberated, and debated in these very halls and chambers, and who we honor today. We honor them on a milestone in our history, the 55th anniversary of statehood. These men and women are responsible for so much of our progress we have come to enjoy. Their contributions are many and enduring. I speak of the Hawaii Prepaid Healthcare Act that mandated health insurance coverage for our workers. We were the first state in the nation to ratify the Equal Rights Amendment. Our public schools and the University of Hawaii system have given our people knowledge and confidence to go out and build a better world. We have a strong visitor industry led by the Hawaii Tourism Authority that is the envy of competing destinations. We were and continue to be pioneers in the use of renewable energy, including solar and geothermal power, while protecting our fragile natural resources. And you know, each successive legislature adopted changes that contributed to help make our legislative process more transparent and open. More recent legislatures embrace technology to give people greater opportunities to be heard, to be involved, and to understand what we do. Yes, their accomplishments are numerous. It surrounds us, it affects our lives, and is captured in part by our commemorative yearbook, which will be our gift to you today. But even more remarkable than their legislative accomplishments was their collaboration, despite differences in upbringing, personalities, values, district and constituent priorities. They managed to put aside those differences to compromise and collaborate so that the work of the legislature could proceed, the people could be served, and Hawaii could be a special place. This is not to say that our work is done, because it never is. But I can say that the inspiration of these men and women have given us, through their leadership and their aloha for our islands and our people, they have guided and shaped the most special place on earth, our home, our Hawaii. Mahalo. At this time, the chair calls on Senate Minority Leader Sam Sloan for his remarks.
Senate President Kim, Governor Abercrombie, distinguished former state senators, our guests from Fukuoka. Boy, didn't they look like they were campaigning already? And our overburdened taxpayers of Hawaii. On behalf of the entire Senate minority, aloha.
Aloha.
Now for the rest of the story. First of all, Madam President, the inclusion of our past senators in this, the 55th anniversary of our statehood, and the publication of a Book of Memories is most welcome. And you know, looking out over the group here, some of the buggers age pretty well. So we welcome you, because history, experience, and perspective should be important. They are reminders to us as we move forward. Otherwise, we're bound to repeat our past mistakes. At this time, Madam President, let me acknowledge the passing at the end of December of Hawaii's greatest fiscal watchdog and the taxpayer's best friend, Mr. Lowell Kalapa of the Tax Foundation of Hawaii. Lowell will be missed during these hard times in the session. He helped all of us understand the consequences of government fiscal actions. Many of us are glad that the year 2013 is behind us, because that year did not live up to expectations of change and measurable improvement, and was difficult for many of our local families and small businesses. By the way, let me say that I was advised to keep my remarks light today and refrain from being too hard-hitting. Light? Unfortunately, that's not in my DNA. We have serious problems in our Hawaii that too many choose to ignore or deny. We must confront and solve them so that we have a better Hawaii and realize our dreams for all of our citizens. Now, my professional experience and discussions with real people in the marketplace tell me that despite what some politicians say, Hawaii has not turned an economic corner, and our economy has not rebounded across the board, and we're still struggling. Recently, the State Council on Revenues reduced the economic growth forecast from 4.1% to 3.3%. From my perspective, and as a disturbing consequence, I believe we have become a nation and a state of entitlement. Our work incentive, our American individual exceptionalism have been eroded by a growing clamor by those who think they are entitled to the fruits of other people's labors. Last week, we noted the 50th anniversary of President Lyndon Johnson's war on poverty. It is yet another war, similar to international conflicts and actions like the war on drugs, that cost much, too much, but that we have not won. Since 1964, more than $21 trillion have been transferred in the U.S. from some taxpayers to others thought to be entitled. In 1964, the government had said that about 14% of the population were below the government-mandated poverty level. Today, it's more than 21%. So clearly, government has been moving in the wrong direction, creating more poverty and homelessness. And that's because money thrown at a problem does not bring positive results. Money without a sound, workable plan and able leadership results in more failure. Consider, if you will, our state's existing $25 billion unfunded liability to present and past employees. Providing more subsidies with lack of oversight to our largest energy monopoly, which keeps increasing electricity rates and experimenting with wind turbines and undersea cables instead of deregulating to help consumers. Then there's my alma mater that we're all proud of, the University of Hawaii, the state's only public university. But they continue to increase salaries and benefits, and a suggestion to pay $10 million to a failed and deficit-ridden athletic program at a time when we're struggling and students are called on to pay higher tuition. A UH that said it's proud, quote, that 52% of our students are able to graduate in 6 years, unquote. A university that is charging fees to students for services that are not even in existence. In addition to that, spending nearly $1 million on a sex program labeled Pono Choices to teach 11 and 12-year-olds how to have sex without teaching them how to read, write, or do mathematics. Proposing a 36% pay increase for the chief elections officer who failed miserably during the last election. Raising motor vehicle fees and taxes while not repairing roads and potholes. Using $204 million to create a flawed Hawaii health connector for Obamacare. And finally, funding studies on global warming while the streets, the highways, and the streams of Hawaii are littered with trash and sewage. Are we serious? Members of the public who pay our salaries are fed up. They demand that we listen to them and change. I'm talking political change, not climate change. And we better do so starting today. Taxpayer expenditures for welfare and social services in Hawaii now exceed expenditures for government education. We must refuse to support those who choose not to work or who are financially irresponsible. Leading the nation in food stamp usage and welfare subsidies and being among the top for homelessness are not badges of honor. During the recent not-so-special session, which focused on same-sex marriage, nearly 10,000 people came to this state capitol. Many weren't registered to vote. Almost none had been to their capital before. But in the end, nearly all were disappointed, frustrated, or angry because of the perceived arrogance of those of us, their elected representatives. They felt betrayed. Let the people decide was their cry. And yet, we did not do that. Article 1, Section 1 of Hawaii's Constitution says, quote, all political power of the state is inherent in the people, and the responsibility or the exercise thereof rests with the people. All government is founded on this authority, unquote. It seems that many in government have forgotten that we derive our power from you, the people. A state without accountability and lack of consequences sets a dangerous precedent. We need meaningful change and must provide consequences for bad behavior and poor performance by government. Now, every year, the Senate minority has introduced legislation providing the people more empowerment and choices, as well as greater government transparency. And this year, again, we have introduced measures to allow for initiative, referendum, recall, and term limits. Hopefully, the people will become more engaged so that the majority will at least hear these measures. Hawaii requires true economic development. Instead of artificially forcing entry and training wages up and taxing and regulating small business further, we should be listening to our job creators and incentivizing them. Those in government who have never met a private payroll in their lives shouldn't be giving the failed advice to businesses and adding more taxes, regulations, and employer mandates. We say everything we do here is for the keiki. But is it really? With sexual assaults and harm to our children increasing and more evidence of human trafficking of minors in our state, Hawaii needs more meaningful protection of our keiki. We should start with the adoption of Jessica's Law and harsher penalties for those who would hurt or endanger our children. Our skies may become crowded with drones and unmanned devices. We welcome their positive use, but must be vigilant with unlawful government or law enforcement use. These uses that violate the Fourth Amendment constitutional guarantees. We should not condone NSA-type spying on law-abiding citizens. Madam President, I pledge my efforts to support good legislation, regardless of who introduces it, to analyze and report honestly on the impact of all bills, to work towards ending legislative exemptions, and to boost transparency. Let us celebrate our individual God-given liberty and our ability to change for the better. Our goal, as I outlined last session, with apologies to the governor, is not just a new day, but a better day. This is not a partisan position. We can navigate a different course, turn the state government canoe into the wind, which is harder, and explore the greatness that Hawaii can be for we, the people. God bless America. God bless Hawaii, our men and women in uniform, and to all of you who participate this session. Aloha and mahalo.
Thank you, Senator Sloan. To begin our ceremony to commemorate Hawaii's 55th anniversary of statehood and to honor those who have served in the Hawaii State Senate since 1959, I would like to share first a satire that congratulates all the kids who survived the decade, the 50s, the 60s, when Hawaii became a state, and to be a little light. First, we survived being born to mothers who smoked or drank while they were pregnant. We were put to sleep on our tummies in baby cribs covered with bright-colored lead-based paints. We had no child-proof lids on medicine bottles, locks on doors or cabinets, and when we rode our bikes, we had baseball caps, not helmets, on our heads. As infants and children, we would ride in cars with no car seats, no booster seats, no seat belts, and no airbags. Riding in the back of a pickup truck on a warm day was always a special treat. We drank water from the garden hose, not from a bottle. We shared one soft drink with 4 friends from one bottle, and no one actually died from this. We ate Ho-Hos and Twinkies, real butter and bacon. We drank Kool-Aid made with real white sugar, and we weren't overweight. Why? Because we were always outside playing. We would leave home in the morning and play all day as long as we were back when the street lights came on. No one was able to teach us all day. No A+, and we were okay. We would spend hours building our go-karts out of scraps and then ride them down the hill only to find out we forgot the brakes. And after running into the bushes a few times, we learned to solve the problem ourselves. We didn't have any PlayStation, Nintendos, Xboxes. There were no video games, no 150 channels on cable, no video movies, no DVDs, no CDs, no cell phones, no personal computers, no internet, and no chat rooms. But we had friends, and we went outside and we found them. We fell out of trees, we got cut, we broke bones and teeth, and there were no lawsuits brought from these accidents. We ate worms and mud pies made out of dirt. We were given BB guns on our 10th birthdays, and we made up games with sticks, and we made rubber bands from old rubber tires. Little League had tryouts, and not everyone made the team. And those who didn't learned to deal with the disappointment. Imagine that. The idea of a parent bailing us out if we broke the law was unheard of. Because parents actually sided with the law. And when they spanked us, parents weren't charged with child abuse. These generations have produced some of the best risk takers, problem solvers, and inventors ever. The past 55 years has been an explosion of innovation and new ideas. We had freedom, failure, success, and responsibility, and we learned how to deal with it all. To commemorate today's ceremony, we'll be presenting 2 special mementos to each of you. The first is a Senate yearbook, a chronology of legislative history from statehood to present. It includes photos of every class from 1959 with narrative and pictures that tell the story of the legislature through the years. And I hope you will enjoy reading it and reminiscing about what was accomplished and the friendships you all made. The second is a very special lapel pin designed for those who served in the Senate. It is to be worn only by current and former members of the Hawaii State Senate as a symbol of your membership in this august body. It is presented today in appreciation of your service to the people of the state of Hawaii. Senator Kouchi, will you please proceed with the presentations? And members of the audience, will you please hold your applause until all the presentations have been made?
Thank you, Madam President. 1959 to 1969, 10 days after Hawaii became a state, the first legislature convened in a special session at Iolani Palace. Construction for a permanent home for the legislature began in 1965, and the fourth legislature first convened in the new state capitol building on February 21st, 1968. The 60s were a time of dynamic change for both the nation and the 50th state. The decade began with the devastating tsunami that hit Hilo in 1960. But it was also a time of growth and promise. The tall cranes, construction cranes that were rising high into the Honolulu skyline were referred to as the state bird and a symbol of that explosive growth. Tourism was fueled by the golden age of air travel and Hollywood productions like Elvis Presley's Blue Hawaii and the Hawaii Five-0 television series. The first constitutional convention was held in 1968, and much of the framework of our state government was established during these formative years. Thank you, Madam President.
Thank you.
Our first honoree is the Honorable George R. Ariyoshi. Governor Ariyoshi was a member of the Senate from 1959 to 1970. During his tenure, he served as the Majority Leader and Majority Floor Leader. He also served as chair of the Ways and Means, Utilities, and Military and Housing Committees before serving 3 terms as Hawaii's governor. We are honored to have Governor Ariyoshi with us today. He has attended every opening day session of the legislature since 1955. The Honorable Walter M. Heen. Senator Heen was a member of the Senate from 1967 to 1968 and a member of the House of Representatives from 1983 to 1984. During his tenure in the Senate, he served as the Majority Floor Leader and Chair of the Military and Civil Defense Committee. The Honorable Frederick W. Rolfing. Senator Rolfing was a member of the House of Representatives from 1959 to 1966 and 1981 to 1984, and a member of the Senate from 1967 to 1975. During his tenure in the Senate, he served as the Assistant Minority Leader and Minority Policy Leader.
Yes, you ran up those things.
I will let you slip. We can't let any Republicans slip.
Okay.
Madam President,
Senator Gualterio.
members, let's move into the 70s. For those of us that can remember the 70s. The turbulent 70s. Our legislature strived toward greater fiscal responsibility and openness to the public. The 70s included major milestones such as you mentioned, Madam President, Hawaii's Prepaid Health Care Act, the Sunshine Law, and Title IX. The Hawaiian Renaissance was also gaining momentum, and the 1978 Constitutional Convention established the Office of Hawaiian Affairs and adopted the Hawaiian language as an official state language. Aloha Stadium opened in 1975. The Hokulea set sail for Tahiti in 1976, and the first Ironman World Championship was held in 1978. Thank you, Madam President.
Our next honoree is the Honorable Richard Henderson. Senator Henderson was a member of the Senate from 1970 to 1978 and 1981 to 1987. During his tenure, he served as the Minority Leader and Chair of the Economic Development Committee. The Honorable Joseph T. Kuroda. Senator Kuroda was a member of the House of Representatives in 1971 and became a member of the Senate from 1972 to 1988. During his tenure, he served as the Majority Leader and Vice President, and also served as Chair of the Consumer Protection, Tourism, and Culture, Arts, and Historic Preservations Committee.
Thank you very much. Thank you.
The Honorable Dennis O'Connor. Senator O'Connor was a member of the Senate from 1975 to 1982. During his tenure, he served as the Assistant Majority Floor Leader and as Chair of the Transportation and Judiciary Committees. The Honorable T.C. Yim. Senator Yim was a member of the House of Representatives from 1963 to 1968 and 1971 to 1974. He was a member of the Senate from 1975 to 1980. During his tenure in the Senate, he served as chair of the Energy, Natural Resources, and Economic Development Committees. The Honorable Patsy K. Young. Senator Young was a member of the House of Representatives from 1973 to 1974 and a member of the Senate from 1975 to 1988. During her tenure in the Senate, she served as the Assistant Majority Floor Leader, Majority Policy Leader, and Vice President. She also served as chair of the Housing and Hawaiian Homes, Legislative Management, Housing and Urban Development, and Public Utilities Committees. The Honorable Neil Abercrombie. Governor Abercrombie was a member of the House of Representatives from 1975 to 1978 and a member of the Senate from 1979 to 1986. During his tenure in the Senate, he served as chair of the Higher Education, Education, and Human Services Committee and is currently our governor of the state of Hawaii.
Oh, thank you very much. Thank you very much. Stand on our mark there.
The Honorable Dante K. Carpenter. Senator Carpenter was a member of the Senate from 1979 to 1984. During his tenure, he served as the Assistant Majority Floor Leader and Chair of the Health and Judiciary Committees. The Honorable Norman Mizuguchi. Senator Mizuguchi was a member of the House of Representatives from 1975 to 1978 and a member of the Senate from 1979 to 2000. During his tenure in the Senate, he served as the Majority Floor Leader, Assistant Majority Floor Leader, Majority Whip, and Senate President. He also served as Chair of the Transportation, Human Resources, Education, Corrections, and Employment and Public Institution Committees.
Madam President.
Senator Kidani.
In the 80s, members of the Senate were vocal and independent. They held contentious caucuses and battled on the floor of the Senate. Oh my God. During this decade, the legislature implemented a landlord-tenant code, raised the drinking age from 18 to 21, gave Native Hawaiians a limited right to sue the state in land trust issues, and enacted a transit accommodation tax to support tourism and a proposed convention center. In 1988, 8 women senators set partisan politics aside to create the formidable Senate Women's Caucus to address special concerns. Thank you to our predecessors. We still have a Women's Caucus jointly with our House colleagues. And in 1982, the University of Hawaii women's volleyball team became the very first UH team of any kind to win a national title. Thank you, Patsy Takemoto Mink, for her Title IX legislation.
Our next honoree is the Honorable Milton Holt. Senator Holt was a member of the House of Representatives from 1979 to 1980 and a member of the Senate from 1981 to 1986. During his tenure, he served as the Assistant Majority Leader and Vice President. He also served as Chair of the Higher Education, Tourism and Recreation, Planning, Land and Water Use Management, and Consumer Protection Committees, and the Leadership Committee on Executive Appointments. The Honorable Ann Kobayashi. Councilmember Kobayashi was a member of the Senate from 1981 to 1994. During her tenure, she served as the Minority Floor Leader, the Majority Policy Leader, and Vice President. She also served as Chair of the Ecology, Environment and Recreation, and Ways and Means Committees, and the Leadership Committee on Executive Appointments.
She was also a member of the Women's Caucus at that time.
The Honorable Charles T. Toguchi. Senator Toguchi was a member of the House of Representatives from 1977 to 1982 and a member of the Senate from 1983 to 1986. During his tenure, he served as the Chair of the Education Committee. The Honorable Donna R. Ikeda. Senator Ikeda was a member of the House of Representatives from 1975 to 1986 and a member of the Senate from 1987 to 1996. During her tenure, she served as the Assistant Majority Leader and Majority Floor Leader. She also served as Chair of the Agriculture, Consumer Protection, and Ways and Means Committees. The Honorable Ron Menor. Councilmember Menor was a member of the House of Representatives from 1983 to 1986 and from 1993 to 2000. He was a member of the Senate from 1987 to 1990 and 2000 to 2008. During his tenure in the Senate, he served as chair of the Corrections, Judiciary, Commerce, Consumer Protection and Housing, and Energy and Environment Committees. The Honorable James K. Wong. Senator Wong was a member of the House of Representatives from 1981 to 1982 and a member of the Senate from 1987 to 1988. During his tenure, he served as chair of the Military and Civil Defense Committee. The Honorable Eloise Yamashita Tumpalan. Senator Tumpalan was a member of the House of Representatives from 1981 to 1988 and a member of the Senate from 1988 to 1994. During her tenure in the Senate, she served as the Assistant Majority Leader and as chair of the Culture, Arts, and Historic Preservation and Higher Education Committees. The Honorable Mike McCartney. Senator McCartney was a member of the Senate from 1989 to 1998. During his tenure, he served as the Assistant Majority Policy Leader, Assistant Majority Leader, Vice President, and Co-Majority Leader. He also served as chair of the Government Operations, Education, and Labor and Employment Committees, and as co-chair of the Health and Environment Committee.
Madam President,
Senator Hara.
when war broke out in the Persian Gulf in 1991, the legislature canceled its opening day festivities, and leaders gave impassioned speeches about peace and progress. Hurricane Iniki plummeted Kauai, causing nearly $3 billion in damage. Over the next few years, the legislature enacted a family leave law, overhauled the no-fault motor vehicle insurance law, enacted the Hawaii Public Procurement Code, and created the Kaho'olawe Island Reserve Commission. And the legislature moved its operations across the street to the State Office Tower and Hemmeter Building as the Capitol underwent renovations for several years.
Our next honoree is the Honorable Randy Iwase. Senator Iwase was a member of the Senate from 1991 to 2000. During his tenure, he served as the Majority Whip and Assistant Majority Floor Leader. He also served as Chair of the Planning, Land, and Water Use Management Committee and as Co-Chair of the Water, Land, and Hawaiian Affairs Committee. The Honorable Carol Fukunaga. Senator Fukunaga was a member of the House of Representatives from 1979 to 1982 and 1987 to 1992, and a member of the Senate from 1993 to 2012. During her tenure, she served as the Majority Whip. She also served as Chair of the Leadership Committee on Legislative Management and Chair of the Communications and Public Utilities, Economic Development and Taxation, and Media, Arts, Science, and Technology Committees, as well as Co-Chair of the Ways and Means Committee. The Honorable Brian Cano. Senator Cano was a member of the Senate from 1993 to 2006. During his tenure, he served as Chair of the Agriculture, Labor and Employment, and Judiciary Committees, and as Co-Chair of the Human Resources and Commerce and Consumer Protection Committees. The Honorable Matt Matsunaga. Senator Matsunaga was a member of the Senate from 1993 to 2002. During his tenure, he served as the Majority Policy Leader and Chair of the Science, Technology, and Economic Development Committee, and as Co-Chair of the Judiciary Committee. The Honorable Joe Tanaka. Senator Tanaka was a member of the Senate from 1993 to 2000. During his tenure, he served as the Assistant Majority Leader and as Chair of the Tourism and Recreation Committee. He also served as Co-Chair of the Economic Development Committee.
Oh my God, thank you. Seen the shirt he was wearing? Polish. Yeah, you did. My first day here.
Madam President,
Senator Takuda.
it looks like the 90s were so busy we split them in half. Returning to the Capitol building in 1996, the legislature established the Hawaii Tourism Authority, the Hawaii Health Systems Corporation, and secured a land exchange with the Campbell Estate to lay the groundwork for the future University of Hawaii West Oahu campus. The legislature began a systemic reform of our K-12 public education system, providing individual schools with flexibility and autonomy to meet the diverse needs of our students, something we're still doing today. We also saw the largest and most expensive public works project, the H3 highway, open in December of 1997 after more than 30 years of planning and environmental and cultural protests. And while Prince may still be partying like it's 1999, after much planning and preparation, we all survived Y2K.
Our next honoree is the Honorable Avery Chumpley. Senator Chumbley was a member of the House of Representatives from 1993 to 1994 and was a member of the Senate from 1995 to 2002. During his tenure, he served as the Vice President and as Chair of the Education Committee and as Co-Chair of the Judiciary Committee. The Honorable Rod Tam. Senator Tam was a member of the House of Representatives from 1983 to 1994 and a member of the Senate from 1995 to 2002. During his tenure, he served as chair of the Ecology and Environmental Protection, Government Operations and Housing, and Economic Development and Technology Committees, as well as co-chair of the Education Committee. The Honorable Norman Sakamoto. Senator Sakamoto was a member of the Senate from 1997 to 2010. During his tenure, he served as the Majority Policy Leader, Co-Majority Whip, and Majority Floor Leader. He also served as Chair of the Education, Education and Military Affairs, and Education and Housing Committees, as well as co-chair of the Transportation and Intergovernmental Affairs Committee. The Honorable Jonathan Chun. Senator Chun was a member of the Senate from 1999 to 2002. During his tenure, he served as the Majority Floor Leader and Majority Leader and as Chair of the Hawaiian Affairs Committee. The Honorable Lorraine R. Inoue. Senator Inoue was a member of the Senate from 1999 to 2008. During her tenure, she served as chair of the Economic Development, Water, Land and Agriculture, Transportation and Government Operations, and Intergovernmental and Military Affairs Committees. The Honorable Bob Nakata. Senator Nakata was a member of the House of Representatives from 1983 to 1986 and a member of the Senate from 1999 to 2002. During his tenure, he served as chair of the Labor and Environment and Labor Committees.
Senator Kahele.
Thank you, Madam Chair. 2001 to the present. The huge economic impact of the September 11 terrorist attacks set the tone for much of the legislature's actions in the first decade of the new millennium. Attempts to bolster local businesses and the faltering tourism industry were the legislature's top priorities. We bid farewell to the Super Ferry and Aloha Airlines, but welcomed other opportunities with the 2011 APEC Summit and a growing high-tech and film industry. Hawaii became a premier filming destination for high-profile television and movie projects including Lost, Hawaii Five-0, and The Descendants. The Senate went paperless in an effort to reduce waste and increase participation in the legislative process. We look forward to what the next decade may bring as we consider ways to integrate web streaming, video conferencing, social media, and other tools into the legislative process. Mahalo.
Our next honoree is the Honorable Fred Hemmings. Senator Hemmings was a member of the House of Representatives from 1985 to 1990 and a member of the Senate from 2001 to 2010. During his tenure, he served as the Minority Floor Leader and Minority Leader.
I got one already, yeah. I know. I'm sorry.
The Honorable Melody Williams Aduha. Senator Aduha was a member of the Senate from 2003 to 2004. During her tenure, she served as Vice Chair of the Economic Development and Science, Art, and Technology Committees. The Honorable Gary L. Hooser. Councilmember Hooser was a member of the Senate from 2003 to 2010. During his tenure, he was Majority Leader. The Honorable Shan S. Tsutsui. Lieutenant Governor Tsutsui was a member of the Senate from 2003 to 2012. During his tenure, he served as the Majority Caucus Leader and Senate President. He currently serves as Lieutenant Governor of the State of Hawaii. Our last honoree is the Honorable Pohai Ryan. Senator Ryan was a member of the Senate from 2011 to 2012. During her tenure, she served as Vice Chair of the Hawaiian Affairs Committee.
Please join me again in recognizing these dedicated public servants for their leadership and service to the state of Hawaii. Mahalo. Before we continue, I'd like to take a few minutes to acknowledge several individuals who helped make this celebration possible. You know, it's one thing to have an idea, it's another to get it executed. And without them, none of this would have been possible. First, former Senator Donna Ikeda for helping coordinate this reunion. I called upon her 6 months ago, and she stepped up. Thank you, Donna. I want to acknowledge Ken Kaw, who's sitting up there in the gallery. He helped me design the members' pin. Thank you, Ken. I appreciate your creative talent and attention to detail. Senator Glenn Wakai, who is up here helping to give out the books. He helped guide the production of the yearbook. And in addition, there were many Senate support staff who devoted countless hours to the publication. Director Casey Hines and his entire research and support staff of the Senate Majority Office. You know, last year, they pored over legislative committee reports and journals and newspaper articles, outline information and other sources to draft the legislative highlights and the historical perspective in this yearbook. Thank you, Casey, and your staff. Lisa Kimura from our Data Systems Office, she single-handedly designed the beautiful layout of the yearbook and formatted all the photos and the text. The next person, Carol Taniguchi. Carol, you have to stand up for this. She oversaw this reunion. Carol, stand up. And yearbook project. Stand up, Carol. She made sure nothing fell through the cracks. She and the staff of the Clerk's Office, Data System, Document Center, and Communications Office spent many hours compiling the data, checking the facts, proofreading, handling the details to complete this publication on time. She took all the calls, the RSVPs, and those who didn't call, she had to call them. And then, of course, there were cancellations at the last minute as well as additions. Thank you, Carol, for all of your hard work. In addition, I want to thank Glenn Matsumoto and the students of the Honolulu Community College Design Center. They printed the yearbook covers and provided professional binding services to create our final product. And finally, I'd be really remiss if I didn't thank my staff, Terrence Aratani, Gina Williams, Nancy Bernal, Daniel Holt, Greg Hirata, and Sharon Hall for all their hard work and support. Mahalo to all of them. Madam Clerk, do we have any business this morning?
We have introduction of bills, Senate Bills 2001 to 2130.
Senator Espero.
I move that Senate Bills 2001 to 2130 pass first reading by title and be referred to committee.
Senator Sloan.
I second that motion.
It's been moved and seconded. Is there any discussion? If not, all those in favor say aye. All opposed, no. Motion is carried.
Referrals and re-referrals of Senate bills and resolutions.
Referrals and re-referrals are made in accordance with the referrals listed on the supplemental order of the day that will be distributed to your offices later this afternoon.
We have no further business, Madam President.
Are there any announcements today? Senator Shimabukuro.
Thank you, Madam President. There'll be an information briefing by the Committee on Hawaiian Affairs this Friday, January 17th at 9 a.m., room 224. And the topic will be DHHL's revocable permits, licenses, and general leases. Thank you.
Further announcement, members. Senator Ige.
Madam President, your Committee on Ways and Means, jointly with the Committee on Finance, will be having an informational briefing this afternoon at 2:30 in the auditorium. The subject is the counties.
Further announcements, members. If not, Senator Espero.
I move that the Senate stand adjourned until 11:30 a.m. tomorrow.
Senator Sloan.
And may God bless all of us and give us a productive session I second the
It's
motion.
been moved and seconded. If there are no objections from the members, the Senate will stand adjourned until 11:30 a.m. tomorrow. Please, members, do not leave the floor. Our guests, please stay where you are. We're going to do a photo op for everybody. So with that, we are adjourned. Thank you, everyone. Do not move. Please sit.